Hi guys, how are you doing? This is elementary English and we are going to class 2. Today we are going to talk about the simple present. Let's go. So, we are going to talk about the use, the form of the simple present and the negative and interrogative forms. So, first, let's say how we use the simple present. The simple present tense is used to talk about habits or routines, general truths, scientific truths, and also in some specific situations, we are going to talk about the future. Let's see the examples. So when we say habits or routines, for example, Sarah always goes home by bus. So you have a routine, a habit. You use the time expression always. What's the meaning of always? Always, sempre. So it means that this is something frequent. The second use is a general truth. What's this general truth? São verdades de uma forma geral. É uma coisa que é verdadeira, independente do tempo que isso acontece. For example, I love chocolate. So it's present, but it's a fact, not only something specific of the time, the present time. Okay? Scientific truths, we say verdades científicas. For example, water boils at 100 degrees. So it's not only in the present time, but it's a scientific truth. And finally, we use the simple present to talk about the future. For example, she travels to London tomorrow. So ela viaja para Londres amanhã. It's only we can say this is future because we have the time expression of the future that is tomorrow. Okay? As we talked about the use, let's now talk about the time expression, the principal time expressions that we use with the simple present when we want to talk about habits or routines. That's the principal function of the simple present to describe habits or routines. Let's see some of these expressions. We have usually, generally, sometimes, rarely, never, always, once a week, once a month, once a year, every day. So these time expressions, they normally, most of them come before the verb. For example, I say, I usually get home at 10 p.m. So usually comes before the verb get. We generally study together. Generally, it's a time expression we use before the verb study. Sarah sometimes has dinner with us. So sometimes comes before the verb have. The verb has, the form has. John travels every year on his vacation. Here is a little bit different. We have an adverbial expression. So it comes after the verb. Normally, these expressions every year, every month, every day, they come at the end of the sentence, right? We never go out late at night. Again, never comes before the verb go. Once a year, they have a family meeting. So once a year comes at the beginning of the sentence with a comma, or it can come at the end of the sentence. And finally, Tom always needs help with his homework. So the expression always comes before the verb. So you have to pay attention. These adverbials, usually, generally, sometimes one word adverbials, they come before the verb. But when we have an expression like once a week, every day, every month, so this is going to come at the end of the sentence or at the beginning of the sentence with a comma, comma, vírgula, ok? Porque está fora da sua posição normal, que é no final da frase, então eles vão vir no início com vírgula. Once a year, they have a family meeting, ok? Let's talk about the form of the simple present. Pay attention. When you have I, you, we, or they, we are going to repeat the verb. Okay, we have the infinitive form of the verb without the particle to, and we repeat that form. For example, the verbs study or to study, and you say, I study English on Wednesdays. So this is a simple present form. You just repeat the verb study, I study. If you say you study, we study, they study. So it's the same form in these specific cases. The verb go, for example, you never go out without us. So go is the infinitive form without to, and you repeat. You never go. You go. I go. We go. They go. So you don't change. The verb cook, for example, we rarely cook dinner. It's the same if I say I never cook dinner or I rarely cook dinner. You rarely cook dinner. They rarely cook dinner. And finally, the verb watch. They always watch TV at night. So watch in the infinitive and watch, they watch. If we say we watch. If we say you watch. If you say I watch. So it doesn't change. The form of the verb for in these specific cases, I, you, we, and they, you just repeat the verb. No changes at all, okay? Okay, guys, let's continue talking about the form of the simple present. Now, you're going to see the third person singular. That's he, she, or it. In this case, you have to add s, es, or ies to the verb form. Okay? But how do I know when I have to add s, es, or ies? First, general rule, regra geral, add s, okay? This is the first rule for all. Then you have verbs that end in s, double s, ch, sh, x, z, or o, you add es. Let's see some examples. The verb go. Go ends in O, so you add es. She never goes out without us. So she, third person singular, you have to add es because the verb ends in O. Cook. Cook is here. Is S-double-S-C-H? No, it's not. So it's general rule. You add only the S. He rarely cooks dinner. He, third person singular, the verb must take an S. Watch. Watch ends in CH. So if it's third person singular, you must add ES. For example, John always watches TV at night. So watches, ES at the end. And finally, the verb work. Work, it's not there, so it's general rule. It works really well. Ele funciona muito bem. You add s because it's third person singular. Pay attention because you have some verbs that are going to be a little bit different. For example, the verb have. The verb have, you don't add s. You just use a different form. That's the form has, because the verb have is an irregular verb, okay? The example, Mary has a good teacher. So you pay attention because not every time you have he or she. Sometimes you have the name, so you have to substitute the name by the pronoun in your mind. And so you discover if it's he, she, or it, you have to add one of the endings, s, es, or ies. Let's continue to talk about the third person, but now we are going to focus the verbs that end in consonant plus y. Okay? When the verb ends in consonant plus y, you drop the y, you remove the y and add ies. Examples: study. So study ends in consonant plus I, D, Y. So you have to remove the Y, drop the Y, and add IES. For example, she rarely studies alone. She, third person singular, so I have to add an ending. So study ends in consonant plus Y. You drop the Y and add IES. The same with the verb try. Sylvia always tries different dresses before choosing. So try consonant plus Y. And Sylvia equals she. So it's the third person singular. But pay attention, if you have a vowel before the Y, so it's general rule. You add only S. For example, the verb play. Paul plays soccer very well. So Paul, third person, because Paul equals he, and the verb play, as it is a vowel plus Y, you add only S. The same with the verb buy. She buys lots of stuff online. Okay, so buy ends in vowel plus Y. So you don't use IES. It's general rule. She buys. Okay? Now let's see the negative form of the simple present. Okay, it's a little bit different from Portuguese because the negative form in English, you will need what we call auxiliary verbs. So to use the negative, you need an auxiliary verb. Okay, in this case, as we have only one verb, you need another verb to make an auxiliary. Okay, we don't translate the verb. It's only for the negative form. So when you have the forms I, you, we, and they, the auxiliary verb is do, and we add not, do not. Or we can use the contracted form don't before the verb in the infinitive form. It doesn't change. For example, I don't study Spanish. So I, it's a first person singular, use do not or don't. I don't study Spanish. We don't live in London. You don't need to go out. They don't buy in that store. So in these cases here, I, you, we, and they, the negative form is do not or don't. In the third person singular, he, she, or it, it's going to change. We have does not. The auxiliary verb will receive the third person ending es, okay, because it ends in o, takes the es, and the verb goes in the infinitive form. So we say does not, or the contracted form doesn't, plus the verb in the infinitive form. So the verb will no longer take the s. The s or es is going to the auxiliary verb. For example, he doesn't speak French. So we have doesn't. That's the negative. And the verb speak. If you say in the affirmative, you say he speaks. But as it is negative, he say he doesn't speak. He doesn't speak French. She doesn't talk to me. So you have doesn't and the verb talk without the S. If it's affirmative, she talks. But negative, she doesn't talk. And finally, it doesn't work. Doesn't work. Use the auxiliary verb with the es in the negative and the verb without the s. Okay? This is the negative form. Now the interrogative form. For the interrogative is the same as the negative. We also use the auxiliary verb do. So when we have the forms I, you, we, and they, we use the auxiliary do in the beginning of the sentence. Repeat the sentence using a question mark at the end. Okay? If we have third person singular, he, she, or it, instead of using do, we are going to use the auxiliary form does, because third person receives es at the end. So we use the auxiliary does in the beginning of the sentence and repeat the sentence using the verb in the infinitive form, that is without the s and the question mark at the end. For example, do you study Spanish? Okay, so you use do at the beginning and you repeat the sentence, the affirmative sentence. So you say, you study Spanish. You study Spanish. Question, do you study Spanish? And the answer, the short answer, resposta curta, yes, I do. No, I don't. As it is a short answer, you must use the auxiliary verb. Yes, I do. You don't say, yes, I study. You say, yes, I do. If you say, yes, I study, you have to repeat the whole sentence. You have to say, yes, I study Spanish. Okay? But if it's short, you say, yes, I do. The same in the negative. No, I don't. Or you say, no, I don't study Spanish. That's the complete answer. Okay. Another example, do they live in London? I have the affirmative. They live in London. Question, do they live in London? So you put the auxiliary verb at the beginning and a question mark at the end of the sentence. Short answer, yes, they do. Negative, no, they don't. Now the third person. Does Paul speak French? If it's affirmative, you say Paul speaks French. But as it is interrogative, does Paul speak French? You remove the s from the verb. The s goes to the auxiliary verb at the beginning of the sentence. And the short answer, yes, he does. No, he doesn't. Does Jane talk to you? Okay, use the auxiliary does. Yes, she does. No, she doesn't. Okay, now let's see if you got it, if you understand the exercise, the explanations. So complete the sentences with the correct form of the simple present. So each sentence you have the verb and you have the negative or interrogative or affirmative. You have to use the correct form that is going to be said in the exercise. Okay, do it, and then late after you finish, you check the key. Okay, and to finish this lesson, we have our challenge. Describe the things you and another relative or friend generally do on your daily routine. Use the simple present and adequate time expressions. You're going to write a little text talking about your routine, but not only you. You talk about someone else too. For example, I usually get up at 7 o'clock in the morning, But my boyfriend gets up late because he never sleeps early. I have a shower, brush my teeth, and have my breakfast. Paul doesn't have breakfast. After the shower, he goes to work. He works downtown. Sometimes we meet and have lunch together. At night, we usually watch TV. On the weekends, we see a movie and order a pizza or make some popcorn. So you have to try to send me your written text and try to use different verb forms, not affirmative, negative, interrogative, different forms. And try to make your audio and send me your audio. If you're too shy, you send me in a private, okay, your audios for the groups that study with me, okay? So guys, that's it. That's our second class for elementary. Don't forget to give your like to the videos, your like, okay? And make your subscription to the channel to receive the latest news, okay? Thank you very much. See you next class. Bye-bye.